Good morning and welcome to the final pregame press conference for the college football playoff quarterfinal at the All-State Sugar Bowl. Please turn off all cell phones. Today's press conference features head coach Kirby Smart from Georgia and head coach Pete Golding from Ole Miss. At the conclusion of the press conference, we will have a photo opportunities with the coaches, as well as the All-State Sugar Bowl trophy and representatives of the Sugar Bowl and the All-State Company. We'd like to start with a brief opening statement from Coach Smart.
Yeah, I'll just open with thanking a lot of people. You know, Jeff Hundley is a Sugar Bowl CEO. He's one of the best in the business. He's a UGA guy. He worked at UGA for a while. So I have a lot of appreciation for Jeff and his staff and the tremendous job they've done. It's certainly been a really hard transition on a lot of the people involved in the bowls as we've gone to CFP. You know, this used to be a week-long event, and they had a lot of traditions that I've been a part of for many years. I think my wife and I were talking last night over dinner that it was the 10th or 11th Sugar Bowl that I've been a part of, and I was even a part of a Sugar Bowl in Atlanta, ironically enough, during Katrina when Georgia played West Virginia. So I've been a part of this group for a long time, and it's been amazing. Bowl group, and Jeff and his staff do a tremendous job. Also, Dottie Reese, who was there to meet us right when we got off the plane, she does a tremendous job. She's president of, she's Sugar Bowl president and does an incredible job with the committee. The committee's been such a great host to us at the hotel, and I feel like I've known Dottie for years, and for her to have her opportunity to be a president, and my wife was commenting last night on how awesome Dottie has been. So the presenting sponsor, Allstate, we thank them too. And thank you guys for the media for covering this, and just excited to get a chance to play an incredible team in Ole Miss. Pete's done a fantastic job taking over for what was already rolling. And, you know, it's going to be a great game. I think you're looking at two of the premier programs and two of the premier teams in college football, two teams that earned their right to this game, and excited to get these kids out there and go let them play. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach Smart. And now Coach Golding.
Yeah, obviously, Kirby thanked everything for both of us. I appreciate that, Coach.
I did that for you.
I appreciate that. I needed that. But no, super excited like we talked about yesterday. Opportunity, obviously, to come back where I'm from, just like Coach Smart, you know, having the opportunity at Alabama to play in a bunch of Sugar Bowls, and the job that you guys have always done and will always do, and this environment and this venue of playing in the Dome for the players around, you know, our fan base that's very close has been really exciting. So huge opportunity in front of us. We know the challenge. I think Georgia and Coach Smart are the premier program in college football, and they've done that on a consistent basis, and that's where we're trying to get Ole Miss. So we're really excited about the opportunity.
Thank you, Coach Golding. We'll now open the floor to questions. Please wait for the microphone to ask your question, and please identify yourself by your name and media outlet. And then finally, please identify which coach your question is directed to. Raise your hand if you have a question. I will start in the back, right side along the aisle.
This is for Kirby. You guys rank first in the country in fourth down conversion rate and second in red zone touchdown percentage. Why do you think you guys are so successful in those two particular areas?
Well, we work at them, but that doesn't always have something to do with that. Those stats can be very misleading, especially the fourth down one, because, you know, what fourth downs are you going for, right? Is it 4th and inches, 4th and 1, or are you behind in games and you're going for 4th and 8, 4th and 7? You know, so the teams that win games usually have a pretty good fourth down rate because they're not going for it all the time on fourth. I mean, the LSU team in whatever year it was with Joe Burrow and them, they didn't have any fourth downs. They didn't have any third downs either because nobody stopped them before they got to third or fourth. And so that can be a little misleading. I think the red zone percentage has a lot to do with being able to run the ball. You know, you run out of field space out there, and you have to find creative ways to score in the red zone. And our offense has been efficient in the red zone, and we don't look at it as just field goals. Look at it as an opportunity to score touchdowns. But it's a big part in games. It's usually a 4-point play, and we've been good at those.
Please raise your hands if you have a question for the coaches. I will stay on the left side in the back.
Yeah, Coach Pete Golden, Brooks Austin with Honest. How has this transition from defensive coordinating to becoming a head coach? And did you anticipate this? Is this something that you aspired for throughout your career and knew one day it would come, so you've been constantly preparing for it, or has this been kind of learning on the fly? I'm sure you've already answered this, by the way.
I mean, I think it's nothing that I grew up saying, hey, I wanted to be the head coach one day. You know, I think in coaching, I've always been a dude where I am where my feet are. I'm going to do my job really well, whatever that job description is, and try to do that to the best of my ability and affect the people around me. What opportunities that create, right, we'll address then. And I've been pretty adamant for a long time. I think this guy to my left kind of said it for me. Outside looking in and being a defensive coordinator and how he did and how successful he was, and to be able to stay at one place for an extremely long period of time and be very successful and be in hand select the one that he wanted. That was a goal of mine once I watched him do that. So I was not in a rush to become a head coach. Like, you know, CAA and then would tell you, don't contact anybody. I don't want a head coaching job. You know, once I left Alabama to come to Ole Miss, I wasn't leaving Oxford. I didn't want to be the head coach at Ole Miss. I wanted to be the defensive coordinator at Ole Miss, and that's the same thing that I told Kiff. When this opportunity presented itself, it's nothing that I've been preparing for. You prepare for it every year because head coaches like Coach Smart and Coach Saban and Coach Kiffin and all the guys that I've been under prepare you for these moments, and they involve you in meetings of why we do certain things, and you're involved from a recruiting component and everything else. So, yes, I've always had two notebooks everywhere I've been of because of and in spite of. And I think that's everywhere. You know, I think you win because of a lot of things. I think you win in spite of a lot of things at certain places. And so it was always keeping those, or, hey, if I ever got my opportunity, okay, what would I continue to do that we've done that's been really effective? And then what would I eliminate, right, that I don't think affects winning or losing? And this one's a little different from the timing of it. And so like Coach Smart always said, this thing's already rolling. Right? It wasn't like we're taking over and we're starting fresh. I mean, at that point, we were 11-1. Everything was headed in the right direction. We got really good players, all right, and we got good systems that have been in place. We got a good staff. So at that point, it was just trying to keep it together and get back to the routine as fast as possible and get back to ball. And so it wasn't about changing everything. It wasn't about my opinion at that point. If anything's been changed since then, it's been through the Players Council, and it's been voted on by the players because it's their team. And so we've added a couple things that we felt like can help us, right, through them, and we've taken away a couple of things that don't affect winning or losing, but that wasn't my decision in the entirety, right? That was also the Players Council decision. So this was something to come in, right? A lot of people have gotten us to this point, most importantly the players, and let's create good plans for them to put them in the best position to have success. Let's hold them accountable in the process, and let's go have fun doing it. So the timing of this one is not like taking the first job like Coach Smart did, and you're going into an offseason, and you're developing your staff, and you're hiring all that, and the recruitment component, and this is what it's going to look like. All that's going to happen in 2026, and we're not going to try to change everything then, you know. So it's been very successful. I really appreciated being under Coach Kiffin and learned a lot, and he did a great job getting us to this point.
We're going to move to the right side of the room in the back.
Joey Lamar with WSAV in Savannah. This is for both coaches. How big of a factor do you think experience will play in a game like this? Obviously, last year, Kirby, your guys were here. They went through the process. You know, they know what it's like. And then for Pete, your guys have not been through this. The team hasn't been through that experience. What factor do you think experience will play in a game like this?
Yeah, you know, I think it's a good topic for you guys to talk about and debate about, but once the players get on the field, all that goes away. None of that matters. I mean, we've been in rematches, big games. When you play in the SEC, every week's a big game. You know, when you go on the road in the SEC and play, it's an environment like no other. It can't be matched. And so the gauntlet of what their team has gone through and our team has gone through, this is another, you know, SEC battle. I don't think you can draw much. I don't personally think you can draw much on the experiences you learned from last year. Are experiences like travel, extra day in a hotel, where you don't get those in regular season. But in these kind of matchups, it still boils down to the players making plays and coaches putting them in position to.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You know, I think the big thing for us is always the focus on the preparation aspect of it. Like Coach Smart just said, I mean, coming down 3 days prior is a little different than this being a normal away game. But I think, the way the playoff is set up now, like going into the Egg Bowl, that was a playoff game for us. Like if we didn't win that game, you weren't going to be playing in this game and have that opportunity. So I think, the way it's set up now, every game towards the end of this season is that mindset, what everybody's talking about, of going 1-0. So I think the mindset and the focus hasn't changed. Obviously, the travel preparation component of it and being here 3 days early and all that. We've got a lot of guys, I think the transfer portal has changed that too, because you brought guys in from other programs that have played in the playoffs, right? And so they individually have some experience, and then you've got coaches around you that have experienced as well, right, that help you prepare with that. But at the end of the day, you got to spot the ball. It's not going to be the call that's going to win the game. It's going to be the execution of the call and the communication of 11 guys being on the same page and playing extremely hard and contesting every play. So it gets back to the players, no doubt.
We'll move to the left side of the room.
Sarah Tidwell with the Athens Banner Herald. This is for Kirby. Ethan and Colby were taken off the injury report last night. How crucial is it going to be to have them available again, and how much do you think that they're going to get to see the field?
Well, they both practiced for a while now, and they've both been working their way back. They're both were really critical parts early in the season for Ethan. Tight end's a position that we have pretty good depth at. So Ethan's a very attentive, wise beyond his years. I mean, he was at our practices last year for this game, and we already knew, wow, this guy's going to be able to pick things up quick. He's smart, he's tough, he's physical. So we're excited to have him back, and hopefully he can help in some capacity. But you only get so many tight ends on the field in so many ways. We've got some guys playing well at those positions. So Colby's done a great job coming back. He's a guy that when it first came out, I didn't think he was going to be back before the end of the season, regardless of how far our season went. He's sped that process up. He wants to play. It's important to him. He's missed time, and he wants to get back out there and go compete. But we'll have to see how he looks game day and what he's able to do and how we can work him in.
Okay, we're going to stay on the left side in the middle.
Zach Klein from Channel 2 in Atlanta. Kirby, this is for you. Is there such a thing as too much information for your players during the preparation process, during a long delay between games? And if so, how do you balance the nuggets that you give them as opposed to letting them just play free?
Yeah, there probably is a line of too much information, but it's more to me how you present the information. I'm all about the presentation and being teachers as coaches, and you learn from other people's mistakes. We try to do a good job of mixing things up in bowl practices and not just doing all information on our opponent. We do information on games going on in the National Football League, games going on across the bowl season. What do you see in bowl? What's the trends? How are things looking? People don't tackle well in bowls. People maybe turn the ball over because they don't get hit as much in bowls. So we don't make it just about information directly involving us or directly involving Ole Miss. We just make it a teaching and learning experience as much as we can for the guys, and don't try to overload them. I mean, we haven't prepared for Ole Miss this entire time, and we didn't sit back and say, all right, let's go play Ole Miss. We worked on ourselves for a while, which most people do, and we worked on both opponents for a while, and then we came and centered around Ole Miss once we knew that was the outcome of their game. So
we're going to go on the left side in the far back of the room. And again, please say you're directing the question to the coach.
Good morning, gentlemen. Tony Reese, WTVM out of Columbus. Question for both coaches. We talk about this being the fourth time in history that two SEC teams have played together, Ole Miss being the three of those going all the way back to the 60s. Just kind of what does it mean for both of y'all to have this experience as two SEC powerhouses playing in this matchup and just the history behind it?
Go ahead, Bob.
you got it, bro.
Obviously, I'd rather not be playing an SEC team. No, I think the SEC. I think it just shows that what this league is week in and week out, and you got to be ready to roll. Obviously, being in a different venue in the Sugar Bowl and the experience for our players is awesome. But I would rather see other teams outside of our league once we get out of our league. But no, it's always a great challenge. I think once you get into the playoffs, you got to beat the best team to get the last win anyway. And I told our guys from the very beginning, there's going to be one team that's happy at the end of this once you make the playoffs. That's it. That's where there's D2, 1AA. Every playoff I've ever been in, there's one team that's happy at the end. And so we might as well play the best ones early. And to be in this venue and to have gotten our ass whooped by them earlier in the year, right, and kind of go through it and hopefully play better and give ourselves a better chance. But to be here in the Sugar Bowl and to play a premier program and play a premier coach, we're super excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited as well because you get an opportunity to play. You know what kind of – you don't worry about the motivation when you're playing another SEC opponent. Your team respects those teams, and it's already happened once in the playoffs with a couple last week, and it's just it's a statement to the conference, and you get an opportunity to go play somebody that maybe you know something more about. You certainly have a lot more common opponents when you play within the league in the playoffs.
Move to the right side in the middle.
Mike Griffith, Atlanta Journal-Constitution and Dog Nation. Kirby, you've obviously had a lot of great defensive assistant coaches that have gone on to great things, and last year you shared the stage with another coach with a great defensive background. I was wondering if you could share with us what you think about the job that Pete's done, what you've seen from him. You've prepared for his teams and played against him several times.
Yeah, a lot of respect for what Pete's done. It's a little unique because I spend a lot of time on the defensive side for us, so I'm usually looking at other teams' offenses, which it's not been Pete's forte nor mine. So we don't spend a lot of time on that. But when you're crossing over and you watch other people play, you're usually watching their defense to see what they did to stop somebody, or you're calling somebody on defense to say, hey, what did y'all think about this guy or that guy? And through the years, he's done a tremendous job defensively, and has got an opportunity now to kind of form and mold a program in his eyes and how he wants to do it. And he's been around some really good ones, I know that. So, and very different leaders in the guys he's been around. So it allows you to grow when you're around different kind of leadership styles like he's been around.
We have two questions along the aisle on the left side. We'll start in the front.
Neil McCready with 24/7 Sports. Pete, kind of following up on Mike's question just then, now that it is your program, as you get into the program building aspect of it, culture, player retention, the way you build your roster, is Georgia sort of the model that you want to try to kind of build around?
Yeah, I mean, I think, whatever you're in, you're looking at, who does it the best and who's done it the best on a consistent basis. And there's no doubt, these last several years it's been Georgia. And that was the same thing, for the Bama run with Coach Saban. Every offseason when you're at Bama, every coach's staff comes in, everybody wants to know what the hell are y'all doing different and all those type of things. But, I think at the end of it, right, it's recruiting really good players, right, have a toughness and discipline in the program, surrounding yourself with really good people that are smarter than you, right, and staying on the cutting edge of things. But I think you got to recruit at a high level, all right, and you got to be exciting to be, to watch. You got to be physically smart and all those things. But all those components, I think, are going to come. I think it's based on people. And number one right now, I think the stability within our program is extremely important. And I think that's a big reason why I'm in the chair that I'm in, is how much can we retain both from a player and a coach standpoint on two systems that have worked and had success in this league consistently over the last 3 years. And so that's our top priority, is to retain as many players and coaches to keep the systems the same for our players moving forward based on the success that we've had.
And now we'll go to the back.
This question is for Kirby. Chris Lowe with On3 Sports. Kirby, you've been at two places now where you guys have won a lot of titles. What are the challenges to sort of keep that edge year after year? And when you've got a group like this that maybe didn't have as many contributors to your last title, what is your sense of how much these guys want their own?
I missed the last part. You said this group or last
This group, what's your sense of how much this group wants their own, since a lot of these guys were not contributors the last time you won one?
Yeah, the group last year wanted it. The senior class, you're always trying to win for that team. Each team has a different makeup, mentality. You grow and create an identity throughout the year of what that team is, and every year it's been different. I mean, our teams have changed. The two national championship teams that were back-to-back were very different. So there's a hunger there. There's a drive there. There's guys in the room that stand up and talk, and their first time being with our team and really experiencing things was the TCU game out in California, and now they're at the end of their ride. And for them, it's like, I always thought that it would come easy, that it would just happen naturally, that it was a given that you would be there, and nothing is given. I mean, you go completely undefeated the following year, lose one game, and don't make a playoff. It wasn't the 12-team playoff format, so you don't even make it. Then the next year you make it, and you get beat by a Notre Dame team. So you don't control a lot of that. You control your preparation. You control your thoughts, habits, and priorities, and we try to center our attention around that. I don't look at this team and say, oh, well, they're a failure if they don't win a national title. Championships are what we all want. Trust me, we all want to get them. But it's the ride and the affecting young people's lives along the way that we really do this for. And that means a lot to me, especially as I get older and up in age. Is what kind of relationship do I have with those guys? Will they come back to the program years from now? Are they invested in that G on that helmet? And that matters a hell of a lot more to me, that they feel like they were a part of something bigger than themselves.
All right, we have time for 2 more questions. We're going to start on the right side in the back.
This is Anthony Dasher from UJSports.com. Kirby, you've been here, Georgia, 10 years now. Every team, like you said just now, just is a little bit different in one way, shape or form. What's been unique about this team from maybe the previous ones?
They've had a great personality. I think I've said it over and over, but there were times in the past that we were a little bit older, or we had a lot of guys that had been in the program for a 5th or 6th year. It was during the little COVID run there, and there was times you felt like they didn't love the game. They didn't really want to be out there and practice like you really want. And that hasn't been the case with this group. They've had a lot of energy. We're a little younger, and they want to be coached. They want to be coached hard. They like practicing hard. They get out there and do exactly what you demand of them each and every day. And they've seen some of the rewards from that, some of the physical toughness, some of the stop the run the ball. I mean, like, they see the rewards from it, and they bought into that being an identity, and that's created a little bit different. Now, I don't know that we're as talented as some of those other teams, just sheer draft picks, but that's not what always wins. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a cohesion of a team, a lot of role players that you have that really buy into doing things that helps you win.
We'll take our final question from the left side.
Coach Smart, I think this is really a question for you, Mitch Gibbs, WGSO Radio. Last year, I know it was a small sample, but the teams that had buys kind of struggled last year. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out this week with the teams that have buys, for the next couple of days. Is there an advantage, in your opinion, to playing that first game? Or is just last year was an aberration? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's going to play out like you said. It's concerning as a coach to have a long layoff, because I always repeat this: in no sport anywhere do you go that long in a team sport without playing a game when you're in a rhythm of playing a game, right? They don't have March Madness and say, hey, let's sit out 30 days and then come back and play March Madness. Baseball, they don't do that. They just don't do that in sports. You play, you have a rhythm, you get going. Ours is very unique in that regard, in terms of the setup for the break. And that may change in the future, I don't know. But I know I've talked to several coaches in the playoffs about that exact thing. And there were a lot of them that wanted an ability to play a game in between those two, because you're going to find out more about your team. I mean, if you're not good enough to win that game, you're certainly not going to win the next 2 or 3. So it is what it is. Everybody tries to spin it as an advantage, whichever way they take it, and nobody really knows what the advantage is, because you can lose a player, you can get somebody injured when you play those games. But we've taken a different approach to it this year. We're going to see how it goes. I don't think the outcome of the game defines the approach. I think it's simple as saying, well, it doesn't work if you don't play a game. Not necessarily true. How did you play in the game? What were the factors that contributed to winning and losing the game? And we'll see that tomorrow night.
Thank you, Coach Smart. Thank you, Coach Golding. At this time, we'll get things set up for photos.